nation's debt by $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years. Mr. Obama says there is no more time for symbolic gestures. The government will hit its maximum borrowing limit on August 2nd. The severe drought in Somalia is forcing refugees to flee to the Dadaab camp in Kenya. They're trying to find food, water, and of course shelter as well. Aid agencies are struggling to provide medical care as the number of people at that camp nears 500,000. News Corporation chief Rupert Murdoch and senior members of his media empire testified before the British Parliament on Tuesday. They went before lawmakers to answer questions about the UK's phone hacking scandal. Murdoch said, although he was sorry, he said he was not responsible. That was just one of the memorable lines from Tuesday's hearing. There were others as well. Let's take a listen once again to some of the testimony.
It is our determination to both put things right, make sure these things don't happen again, and to be the company that I know we have always aspired to be. As for my comments, Mr. Chairman, and my statement, which I believe was around the closure of the News of the World newspaper.
Before you get to that, I would just like to say one sentence. This is the most humble day of my life.
The question of what's acceptable and what isn't in terms of investigative techniques is an important one, but let me be very clear. The codes of conduct of News Corporation globally for our employees, journalists or otherwise are very clear that breaking the law is a very, very serious matter. It should be, people who are lawbreakers should be held to account. And in the matter of something like phone hacking or topically payments to police and things like that, we just don't think they should have any place in our business.
Mr. Murdoch, do you accept that ultimately you are responsible for this whole fiasco?
No.
You're not responsible. Who is responsible?
The people that I trusted to run it, and then maybe the people they trusted.
You must be horrified by the scandal and the fact that it's cost you the Sky B transaction and led to the closure of the News of the World. Who do you blame for that?
Well, a lot of people had different agendas, I think, in trying to build this hysteria. All our competitors in this country formally announced a consortium to try and stop us, and they caught us with dirty hands and they built hysteria around it.
We have been very clear that serious allegations of wrongdoing have been leveled about the News of the World.
Did you close it because of the criminality? Did you close the paper down because of the criminality?
Yes, we felt ashamed of what had happened and thought we were going to bring it to a close. And then I was absolutely shocked, appalled and ashamed when I heard about the Millie Dowler case.
Of course, I have regrets. I mean, the idea that Millie Dowler's phone was accessed by someone being paid by the News of the World, or even worse, authorised by someone at the News of the World, is as abhorrent to me as it is to everyone in this room.
So that's a sense of what was said, but that's not it, right? It's what was said, but it's also the way it was said, the way it was delivered. A CEO's testimony could make or break a situation like this, especially in the public eye. Here's a great example. Tony Hayward right there, the former chief of BP. This is when he testified before the U.S. Congress last year. Many people thought he was being evasive. They thought he was being arrogant. And that just infuriated people. It also created a public relations nightmare. In this case, the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico made that situation seem even worse. Now, let's get back to Tuesday's hearing in the UK. Some say that Rupert Murdoch, the 80-year-old global media tycoon, appeared downright frail, while his 38-year-old son seemed to be quite protective. Well, let's turn it over to an expert and rate the performances of both of these players. I am joined now by crisis management expert Chris Garrett. He is in Washington. Okay, Chris, let's just get it right off the top here. Give us your rating. I mean, how did they do right off the bat here?
Well, I think in order to rate them, we really have to put in perspective what their goal was here. I think today kind of marked a culmination of a significant shift in the company's stance from just last week when they sought to minimize and downplay the severity of what was happening with this scandal. So I think today you're seeing kind of the first small public steps, at least, where there's a degree of accountability being being taken directly by the executives that lead the company at its highest level.
Well, it seems like they got the I'm sorry part, right? We heard a lot of that, but when it came down to the question of are you responsible and how come you didn't know about this, it seems like a lot of people weren't really satisfied with that.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think they're going to get a significant amount of what we call in our business pushback on that point. But that being said, I think there is credibility in their statement based upon the facts that we know at this time, that, you know, Murdoch himself could not possibly know the extent of everything that's going on amongst his 50,000 plus employees.
He loved the news, though. He was passionate about journalism. He went on and on about his father and the legacy he wanted to leave to his sons. I mean, you know, where do you go with that?
Oh, well, listen, there's no question that their corporate reputation has seriously been damaged by the scandal. I think that it's going to continue. They need to be very concerned about the pending investigations that have the tentacles of this have spread everywhere. I think they are in full mode, damage control mode, in terms of trying to contain this story to the best degree that they can, but it's going to be an uphill battle given all that we know at this moment and all that's soon to come out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Chris, let's talk about body language, because this tells us so much. I mean, what did you make of father and son and wife in terms of their body language there in that front row?
Well, I think you could see it's obviously these situations are not comfortable to be put in when they're on the proverbial hot seat. I think it was very apparent, and say what you want about Rupert Murdoch, I think he lived up to his billing about being very blunt. And I think that is going to cut both ways for him. I mean, some people say that's been part of why he's been able to be successful, but it's also been part of what's fed this tabloid culture that is that has led to this scandal. So it's been a catch-22 situation for them. And I think that body language, everyone could see that he was not happy to be there. I mean, you played his quote earlier. This is the most humble day of his life, according to him. It was not a good time for him, but I think his son showed a strong command of some of the key issues and really addressed almost more directly, in a sense, the issues before the company than he did.
Some people think James really looked like the next CEO, right? And Murdoch, you know, the senior Murdoch sort of sitting there banging his hand on the table kind of thing, and you know, some strange, annoying things happening. I wonder, you know, I want to talk about the pie incident, because it's not every day something of this gravity gets, you know, broken up by a stunt.
Sure.
Did the pie in the face thing win the Murdochs any sympathy, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the gravity of this situation and the gravity of the accusations and the investigations that are going on, I think it fed into an overall circus-like carnival atmosphere to the event. But this whole story has that element from jump, considering where it's gone from where it started, allegedly, and to now, what we now know to be true. It's spread so far and wide beyond what we were initially told.
All right, we got to leave it there. Chris Garrett, really interested to hear your thoughts on this. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thanks. We'll keep our body language under control here. Very neutral, no pointing, no pounding the table here. No way. Chris, thanks a lot. Still to come, he is tall, and I mean really tall, and he's a big man in U.S. pro basketball. But China's Yao Ming is now looking to a life very much off the court, and we will tell you why just ahead.
World Report, in association with Park Hotel Group. Park Hotel Group. Discover love.
Dear Evelyn, thank you for making my business trip such a pleasure. The Crystal Club Lounge felt just like my living room at home. You and your team were so welcoming, always friendly and very helpful. Gary, the concierge, deserves special mention, doubling up as my chauffeur when the cabs were nowhere to be found. Everyone went out of their way to make this trip especially memorable for me. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Park Hotel Group. Discover love.
Going beyond borders, it's about thinking outside of the box. I'm Becky Anderson, and I go beyond borders.
Anil Kapoor joins CNN's fight to end modern-day slavery. A special Freedom Project documentary coming soon on CNN.
Illegal immigration is a touchy subject with strong opinions on many, many different sides. But regardless of how individual people actually feel about the issue, there's no denying that some people are willing to risk their lives just to get a chance at a new life in a new country. Huge risks are being taken between the border of Mexico and also Guatemala. But as Rafael Romo explains now, Mexico often is not the final destination.
It may not be legal, but it's definitely popular. For just a few bucks, you can pay your way across the river and into a new country. The zip line built at the border between Mexico and Guatemala was found by CNN affiliate Televisa. A Guatemalan migrant admits he's crossing this way because he doesn't have a passport. The zip line connects the Guatemalan community of El Carmen to the Mexican town of Talisman. Once in Mexico, migrants travel on freight trains or by bus to the U.S. border. Many never get there. Last week, Mexican authorities stopped a bus in the central Mexican state of Querétaro with 104 undocumented migrants on board. And in August last year, 72 would-be migrants were killed by a Mexican drug cartel. Those who do get to the U.S. border have another river to cross, or a 21-foot wall, although many now go underground. On a recent trip to Arizona, U.S. Border Patrol agents gave us access to this tunnel. It's meant to prevent flooding, but it has been increasingly used in recent years to smuggle immigrants and drugs.
We're usually trying to see some sign that someone's been coming through or pushing bundles of marijuana or something like that.
We are inside what is called the Grand Tunnel. This is underground in Nogales, Arizona. Right next to me, on the other side of this gate, is actually Mexico. And the way a lot of smugglers operate is that they will use smaller tunnels like this one, bringing anything from people to also drugs, risking their lives in many cases.
There was a group down here, and then they got caught in the flash flood. And then hours later, they were looking for a body.
Some die trying to get across the border or trekking across the desert. But thousands more will make it into the land of their dreams after a trip of hundreds, even thousands of miles. For some of them, a journey that included this zip line. Rafael Romo, CNN.
Pakistan has its first female foreign minister, and she is also the youngest. She's 34 years old. Her name, Hina Rabbani Kar, and she was sworn into office on Tuesday. She's going to travel to Indonesia later this week for the ASEAN talks, and she's also expected to meet with her Chinese counterpart. She's going to also meet U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now to Libya. Opposition forces continue their push to regain control of Al Brega. But a government spokesman vows they will turn that strategic oil town into what they are calling hell, rather than let it fall to the rebels. Meanwhile, in a remote desert region, rebels patiently wait and watch for signs of any kind of an imminent attack. Our Ben Wiedemann is there.
Their job is to watch, round the clock, the planes down below. Through their surveyor scopes, the rebels at the Sidi Salah outpost keep a close eye on the Gaddafi-controlled town of Ghazaya, 8.5 kilometers or 5 miles away through the desert heat and haze. In May, Naji left his job as a construction worker in Malta to join the revolt against the Libyan strongman. He believes the enemy is up to something. They've had some unusual movements recently, he says. 2 days ago, reinforcements came, about 100 cars full of men who didn't appear to have any weapons. Later, 2 big trucks came full of weapons. From here, you get a bird's-eye view of the western end of the chain of mountains that leads to the jugular vein through which pass all the supplies, food, ammunition, and weapons from neighboring Tunisia to rebellious western Libya. This lonely, barren outpost is critical for the entire rebel-held western mountains. Behind those hills over there is the main crossing between Tunisia and rebel-held territory. If Gaddafi's forces manage to cut off that crossing, the rebels in the west will be surrounded. The men share this outlook with the tomb of a now long-forgotten Muslim holy man by the name of Saleh. The only thing they know about the holy man is his name. 23-year-old Bashir hasn't worked a day since he finished high school 5 years ago. As dull as it may seem here, he says, it beats a life with no future under Gaddafi. He didn't help us at all, Bashir says. If you didn't have the right connections, you couldn't find work. There was nothing to help you get ahead. During the long hours of waiting and watching, they have but one diversion. Perhaps the best-fed, most pampered puppy in all of Libya. They haven't named the dog, though some jokingly call him Bouchafchoufa, Libyan slang for the guy with messy hair, a somewhat less than respectful nickname for Muammar Gaddafi. The puppy is welcome here. His namesake most certainly is not. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Sidi Salah, Western Libya.
All right, let's get you another look at the global weather forecast. We're going to toss it back to Jenny Harrison over there in the World Weather Center. You know, it feels to me like we're still in a bit of a heat wave in the U.S.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know. What you really mean is, isn't it horrible at the moment? Isn't it too hot and too humid?
It's rugged. You just want to stay in. You just want to go from air-conditioned environment to air-conditioned environment.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it really is uncomfortable, isn't it? It really, really is. You can't stay long out there at all. But in fact, Colleen, we are not seeing the worst of this heat, let me tell you. It's actually transferred up towards the north in the last couple of days. Over the last few hours, 1 or 2 scattered showers and thunderstorms. You can see a bit of a yellow box there popping up and then going away and coming back again. That's to warn of severe thunderstorms. But the heat right now is really in place across the northern plains, and it's going to work its way eastwards as we go through Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. And eventually the northeast will have the temperatures as much as 8 degrees above Celsius. But what we're really talking about, of course, is the heat and the humidity, and it's called the heat index. So it's how it feels on your skin. And look at these temperatures across the northern plains, the Midwest, as we go into Wednesday. Many of these cities will see a temperature that feels at about 40 degrees Celsius, so over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Huge area now under this excessive heat warning, and in fact, as you can see, it says there, it's about the same size as the entire country of Mexico, or about 30% of the size of the entire size of the US. So it's a large area under this heat watch. And then we'll see a few more showers and thunderstorms, a few rolling in across into those more northern regions. And again, always a chance of a few showers, generally popping up in the later afternoon and evening times. And away from the heat, 19 Celsius in San Francisco, and a very nice 26 there across in LA. Meanwhile, in Europe, some pretty good weather through the central and eastern Med. Elsewhere, again, a fairly unsettled sort of picture. We've got 2 areas of low pressure, one across the north into the North Sea, and another which is working its way across these central areas. Now, this is going to bring with it some very heavy rain, has done already for the last few hours. It'll bring heavy rain across much of Central Europe, some strong thunderstorms, and generally a very unsettled sort of picture, but quite a large area is under a severe thunderstorm watch as we go Tuesday into Wednesday, and of course also the Tour de France. It's getting towards the end of the race now. We're in the last week, and very, very mixed conditions, it has to be said. Not so much in terms of rain or sunshine, but in actual fact the winds are going to come to the riders at just about every single direction, and you can see here sunny highs probably up to about 20, 25 degrees Celsius. Let's have a look now at conditions elsewhere. Okay, you'll soon see what you're looking at. An armed hold-up raid in Southern California. And, yep, there he goes. There he goes. The 4.5-kilo little chihuahua managed to chase the robbers, would-be robbers out of the store. I mean, have you ever seen... I mean, look, one comes in, he puts down his bag, the other one comes in with a gun. I mean, let's be honest, fairly terrifying if you're in this situation. But the little chihuahua, Paco, his name is, he manages to actually get them to leave. Not only that, he chases them well across the street until they're out. And get this, Colin, the most amazing thing too about this little dog, he was actually a rescue chihuahua.
Oh.
And he belongs to somebody who lives in that sort of general neighbourhood, and apparently he spends a lot of his time, this little dog.
Look, he goes right for the guy with the gun, too.
I know,
you see the leg he
didn't
jumps on is the guy with the gun.
Yeah. But he apparently spends a lot of time in all the different stores, so that wasn't even his owner or the store that he you know, sort of lives in all the time. He just happened to be there.
Well, he can go there anytime,
Yeah.
I'm sure. A great video. Yeah. Jenny, thanks very much. You know, you heard Jenny mentioning the weather for the Tour de France as well. When we come back, it's going to be World Sport. We got Candy Reid hopping up here right now, and she's going to have a little bit on that and also more on a huge Copa America matchup. Stay with us.
Conventional 3D glasses need recharging regularly. Still missing the 3D action? Introducing the next generation 3D TV, LG Cinema 3D. Battery-free, worry-free.
Stay connected to your world, anytime, anywhere, with the new CNN app for Nokia. Get breaking news as it happens, upload your own iReports, and share stories with your friends. The CNN app for Nokia, available now at the OV store.
Going green. For CNN, it's more than just planting trees or recycling. It's about really understanding what's at stake.
It's about human stories. It's about the whole system of life that has to be supported, or else our lives can't exist.
It's the give and take to create sustainable living environments. So we go to the ends of the earth and back to take you to the front lines in the battle to find solutions, to witness cities with bold new ideas, and meet people who inspire change. We're not just going green, we're going beyond borders.
Conventional 3D glasses flicker up to 60 times a second. Still recovering? Introducing the next generation 3D TV, LG Cinema 3D. Certified flicker-free.
All right, let's get you up to date on sports. We got Candy Reid here. Candy, let's talk about this big announcement that we're expecting from an NBA big man, literally, Yao Ming.
Yeah.
This is a big deal, obviously.
One of the biggest men in the NBA, absolutely, yes. And just, thank you, Colleen, in just a matter of hours in Shanghai, a great and promising career in US pro basketball will likely come to a premature end. Yao Ming is expected to announce his retirement. Here's former NBA star and current analyst Steve Smith on the way he views Yao Ming's career.
Getting a chance to see his popularity in Sydney, just people gravitated to him. Obviously, it's because of his size, but then you can tell he was a gentle giant. His smile was contagious, but then I also had a teammate of mine, Dikembe Mutombo, who played with him for years. And the story Dikembe talked about how just a wonderful person Yao Ming was, a likable player off the court. And you can tell he had superstar written all over him. And one of those guys that was going to really, I think, change this game. And I talked to guys, he wasn't a project and he wasn't going to be a center that just bangs you. He was more of a finesse center that was just big and huge and humongous, who at times, because he was so big, could overpower you. And I thought, yes, when he gets a chance to play against NBA talent, learn the ropes, his game was going to just go to another level. And you saw that in his first 3 years. I think the injury slowed him down. Even a lot of the games he's played, he was hurting, and you could tell. He couldn't do the things he wanted to do, but he still came out and gave a great effort. And then when you start to look at his numbers, injuries or not, I mean, I think his career averages are 19-10 or 19-9 something. Those are great numbers for a center. But I think when you look at it, if he could have got a chance to play 100% healthy or even close to being healthy, those numbers were going to be phenomenal. And if you look at the center play today in this league, there weren't going to be a lot of guys, the Shaquille O'Neals and a lot of the big guys who dominated would have been leaving and retiring. This would have been pretty much him and Dwight Howard going at each other for numerous years, and that would have been something I would love to get a chance to see in the future of the NBA.
That was NBA expert Analyst Steve Smith there on Yao Ming. It really is a premature end. He's only 30.
He's only 30. He just played so much, didn't he?
Yeah, and I spoke to an NBA expert, and he just said he would have been one of the best centres, perhaps of all time, if he hadn't been so injured.
We got to talk about the Copa America, right? This is the most important sporting event, right, in South America?
Absolutely. It's the world's oldest international football tournament. There's only 4 teams remaining, and this tournament has been notable because the big favourites, Argentina and holders Brazil, are out. They are no more. So that means that Uruguay, who've won this tournament 14 times, that's a record equalling, along with Argentina, are the big favourites now. They're actually going to take on Peru in a few hours' time in La Plata, Argentina. Now, Peru just beat Colombia 2-0, and it was kind of against the run of play. It's their first semi-final at the Copa since 1997. They qualified last in the 2010 World Cup qualifying in South America. They're going to be taking on Uruguay, who bumped out Argentina 5-4 on penalties. And they are spearheaded by, of course, Diego Forlan and my man of Liverpool, Luis Suarez.
Your
Should be a good game.
Indeed. We got to talk about the Tour de France. It's getting kind of interesting.
Very interesting. It's the last week, so now it's all about the general classification. So we're talking about Alberto Contador, Cadel Evans, Thomas Voeckler, who's in yellow, and the Schleck brothers. And it was a big stage on Tuesday because Contador actually made a move, and he kind of caught his rivals off guard. Here's Thomas Voeckler of France, who's still leading the yellow jersey. He said he has 0 chance of still being in the Maillot Jaune in Paris on Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. Alberto Contador, he seems to have got his legs back, that's what he said, because he's been struggling a little bit with a knee injury, but he made up some time. There's Voeckler trying to chase him. He said he just couldn't manage it. At the front, Thor Hushovd won for the 2nd time in this tour, but he's way back. I think he's about 53rd in the overall standings. Voeckler leads. Alberto Contador's in 6th, but he's taken about 18 seconds off now, so he's getting a little bit closer. The Schleck brothers of Luxembourg, they didn't do so well. They were caught off guard in that rain, and they lost a little bit of time.
Yeah, the weather looks tough.
I love the Tour de France. It's such a great race.
It
it's
really
the
is.
ultimate. Those guys are nuts.
Huge challenge, and good to have you walk us through it. Candy, thanks so much. We're going to see you next hour as well for more Business of Sport coming up. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Colleen McEdwards. We've got World Business Today coming up next. Join Pauline and me in just a moment. Keep it right here on CNN.
Can a bank really stand for something? Can it balance its ambition with its conscience? As not everything in life that counts can be counted. In the many places we call home, our purpose remains the same. To be here for people, here for progress, here for the long run, here for good.
The CNN app for Nokia.
Statistically, the greatest driver the sport has ever seen. Formula One legend Michael Schumacher back in the driving seat.
I'm only happy if I'm back on the winning road. I'm addicted to challenge, and I feel I have the right to do what I enjoy.
Revealed today on CNN.
This just into CNN.
When the latest news meets the latest technology, get ready to see a bigger and better picture of your world.
Sometimes you see images like this. You're not only the founder of Wikipedia, but you're also a thinker. What are you thinking about?
How do we bring people together in productive ways?
Here we are finding new worlds.
Newsstream with Christy Lou Stout, a tech-powered news show.
Finally, into the 21st century.
Tonight, only on CNN.
Go beyond borders.
Vous êtes sur CNN.